Hey, everybody, welcome back to Between Two Friends. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Dee Holt, the owner, founder, and proprietor of Applause Your Paws, which, I mean, Dee, introduce yourself more thoroughly than I can do. But man, we've known each other for a while now, and we both started out when we met. We were just by ourselves, I think, getting started. So it's been quite the journey. Thank you so much for joining us today. Not a lot of people would see some, young girl with all this energy who's has a dog training company, who's going to turn it into something like you have. I mean, most of the time you would assume, I mean, this is true for any business. So most businesses stay small, but you think, well, Dee's really, a great dog trainer, and she's going to be doing that forever. And that's what you do, but not you anymore. Your company does it. So I'm excited to ask you about how you were able to grow.
Yeah, and I can remember even in in the organization that we met each other in, I had someone actually say in front of like a large group of people, and this will always kind of stick with me. And it really kind of lit a fire under my butt, even more than I already naturally had, I guess. But they said, "Oh, I want to introduce you to Dee Holt, and she's a dog trainer. It's too bad she's just a dog trainer."
Wow.
And I was like, "Excuse me, like, excuse me." So there you go. Prove them all wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, look, so what we're doing during October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we're doing kind of a focus on Women Entrepreneur Month. And so that kind of kicks us off. I mean, maybe that comment was, people underestimated you. Maybe they just didn't know your ambitions, or maybe, like I think a lot of women, you maybe weren't thought highly of by someone who's an older, probably male, who made that comment.
Yeah.
So but here you are kicking some butt. So tell us more about Applause Your Paws.
Applause Your Paws is the largest privately owned pet dog training company in South Florida. Might be the biggest one in Florida, but I only claim like south of Lake Okeechobee. So I don't really go to northern Florida, so I can't really speak to what's up there. But I started my business by myself in 2006, right after I graduated from University of Miami with my undergrad. And while I was doing my MBA, that's actually what kind of gave me the idea to have a legitimate business as opposed to just a hobby, because I've always done dog training, just recreationally or with my own dogs or my neighbor's dog or whatever. Um, and that's pretty much the story in a nutshell. I mean, I paid attention in my business classes. I really saw an opening in the market to be able to do something really special for our community. And I always aspired to have a facility. So it took me from about 2006, 2007 to 2014 to finally be in a good enough position financially to open my facility. And then that's when things really took off for my business. So the growth was kind of slow and steady for that first, however many, what is that, like 8 years? And then it was just exponential once we opened our doors, because there was such a need then, even in 2014, for what is our claim to fame now, which we call like doggy school. So just like your kids go to school, your dog can go to school, and actually your dog has come to school. So thank you for
That's
your
right.
business, Brett Tremblay.
Yeah, you do still send your trainers to people's homes. I know that.
We essentially, yeah, have four services, our four core services that we offer. And although throughout the years I've tried to diversify a little bit and offer some complementary pet business services like grooming or boarding or daycare, ultimately we've always come back to the core of training. So we just do training, and that's very unique in itself, because most pet dog training businesses that generate the revenue that I have boarding tied into it. And we don't have boarding. We just do training. So we can come to your home, like as a coach, to help you and your family learn to train your dog. You can be 100% the trainer, and we'll just coach you. We have group classes where you can come to us and enjoy, being in a group setting with other families and their dogs, learning from one of our instructors. And then we have our two like in facility programs. So we have day school, and then we have boarding school as well.
Now, how did you grow the business enough over 8 years, where, as you said, you were finally in a place financially where you could make a move like this? I know that you're kind of the dog trainer for the stars, if you will. That's a unique kind of thing that you've developed. But how are you able to expand from just yourself and maybe your executive assistant to where you were adding trainers and building the business early on?
For those of you that have maybe read The Entrepreneurial Myth, that book by Michael Gerber is like my Bible, right? So you have this moment in your business as an entrepreneur where you realize you're wearing three hats and you shouldn't be. So you're the technician, you're the owner, and then you're also the manager, and you just can't do it all. And so you come to this crossroads where you have to make a decision which of those you want to be. And I decided that, at least for the time being, I wanted to be the manager. And someday I'd want to be the owner, right? So now I'm actually the owner. I wear that hat. But at that juncture in my business, I decided I want to be the manager. And with that comes being able to recruit talent and manage a team. And it was a skill that, I don't know, just kind of seemed exciting and fun to me. And I think I have a knack for being able to recruit the right people. And I just really set my mind to that. I mean, it was as simple as putting out an ad, putting it out in the community and just saying like, hey, does anyone know anyone that can train a dog that wants to come work for me? And I ended up getting my very first employee, who actually still works for me today, which is pretty incredible. And I just kind of took a leap of faith. And I feel like that's what you have to do, because when you're first starting off, you don't have all the answers. And so you've got to be brave enough to just take that leap of faith and say, I know I need the help. I know it's scary, but we just got to go. Like, so, hey, can you train a dog? Yeah. Okay, great. Come on. Come with me. We'll figure this out. We'll figure this out together. And it was me and Ashley, who still works for me, and my assistant, Joanne. And it was probably the three of us for a year until I was like, you know what? Like, this is working out pretty great. Let's go. And I just kept hiring more and more dog trainers.
I'm guessing you weren't flooding the market with billboards and airplanes, marketing this thing. It was a lot of probably word of mouth, reputation type marketing growth.
I can remember giving an incredible amount of my time, and I still do give a decent amount of my time, like to the community for free events. Or I very quickly, it became evident to people that I knew what I was doing when it came to assessing dog behavior. And so I got in with a lot of the local rescue groups and the shelter, and kind of made myself an authority and someone they could trust when they needed the support. And so, building that goodwill in the community, like, oh, if you have a dog problem, this is who you call. And I didn't charge them anything for that. Like, but I wanted them to refer me to someone that I could charge. Right. So that was how, when I didn't have any money for advertising, and when I started my business too, there was no Facebook ads. I did all that myself. Like, we didn't have, back then we didn't have the luxury we have now as business owners to be able to advertise on social media. Social media was just getting started. So it really was like, word of mouth, grassroots kind of effort, just being physically visible and present in the community so people could know me and trust me.
If you have money, then you can spend money to save time and advertise or market. But if you don't have money, then you have to trade your time. And and people, it took you 8 years to get a facility, but it's not like you open on day one and suddenly thousands of people are banging on your door. As they say, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. And there were a lot of weekends and nights where, and I know this, you were just working like crazy, but always with a smile on your face. I do want to point that out.
Thank you. I try to still have a smile on my face when I have to work late nights, which is rare, but especially with the pandemic, I mean, it really has reminded me a lot of those early days, because in so many ways, I'm sure a lot of small business owners have felt this. We've kind of had to start over and change a lot of things, and it's very interesting and humbling, and it's fun. I think it's fun to reflect, kind of on like what we were like starting a business at the very beginning versus what we're like right now with the experience and the wisdom we have starting a business again after the pandemic. So it's reminded me a lot of those days.
So Dee, what's next for you guys? You have the facility, you have a great reputation in the community and a lot of growth, but I know you said you've tried some additional things and you always come back to the core of business. So what is next for you guys?
I definitely have been giving that a lot of thought this last 6 months with everything happening. And I think the next step at this point, if I'm really going to scale up, is adding locations. And it's something that I haven't been brave enough to do in the past. And I've thought a lot about what my hesitation has been in wanting to scale up. Like, I used to think that I was afraid of failing, and now I'm starting to think that it's more like a fear of success, which actually I think is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with, because the more success you have, the more responsibility inherently you have and more visibility you have and blah, blah, blah. I'm in a position now to say, how do I duplicate that? How do I put back on the manager hat for a little bit and recruit some new talent to open some other locations, because I think my system's strong enough now to do that. And with Corona having shut down my business for several weeks and feeling that huge revenue drop and feeling like your whole life is over and like, oh my gosh, and then being able to bounce back from that as quickly as we did, I feel like now's the best time to scale up the way I've been afraid to do, because I have nothing to lose. Like the worst has already happened. So that's the joy of entrepreneurship as well, right? Kind of just like the fear of taking the next the next step, but that's got to be it. There's no other next step. I pretty much at this point as a business taken my current location as far as it can go, as far as the revenue that it can generate in my community, with just keeping my focus on training, which I love. So I don't know, you might see 10 applause your pauses pop up within the next,
Wow.
or not.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I think a lot of people, respectfully lie to themselves their whole lives saying that they don't want to go for it because it's
Step
safe.
on it. Yeah.
And I always use the example of the one attorney with the one paralegal basically for 30 years, 35 years. It's just like one guy and he's got a paralegal, and the paralegal does everything. I mean, that paralegal wears like 50 hats, and they never really go for it, if you will. But that's true in any business. And then sometimes you grow a little bit and then you say, oof, I took a risk, I made it, I'm good. And you stop. And a lot of people don't know how to get over the next barrier. You have families go into your facility on Saturdays and Sundays. Some people will do that in, like, let's say a parking lot, right? And their
Yeah.
whole lives that'll be no risk. And again, I'm not putting anybody down, but there's a balance there. And I always wonder about growing older and saying, man, if I only would have taken that chance.
And it wasn't until, oh gosh, maybe just 3 years ago, that I took out my first loan in the business because I wanted to, upgrade the kennel system that I had. I think it was 3 years ago. And that was huge and it was scary, but at some point you want to take that jump. But I never, like you said, I never did want to take it early on because I felt like it was too risky. And even if it took me a little bit longer to get to where I wanted to go, I I I took the risks, but I also played it safe at the same time. I took the risk of growth, but I played it safe by not getting in over my head in debt.
I didn't come from a sophisticated enough financial background to really understand how to leverage, loans or equity and those type of things. Very happy with my journey, but I'll tell you, like, I really believe in coaching and mentorship because at least knowing the options is helpful. Most people they don't surround themselves with the right people that are positive and want to help share the knowledge, or they don't put themselves in a position to learn, and not learn from people with an opinion who have just never done it before, but learn from people who actually want to help you and who have been there before with that experience. So I'm a big believer in coaching and mentorship. What about you? What are some of the things that you've been exposed to, or maybe some of your keys to success if someone else is on their own and they're saying, I don't even know how to do these things or how to grow a business?
I mean, what you just said really resonates with me because I think I have a similar philosophy in terms of wanting to learn from people who have more life experience and business experience, because there's definitely value in hearing the mistakes that they've made. So why go through the same mistakes yourself when you can learn from someone else that already says, you know what, that didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
I am so not someone who wants to invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel. Like, I'd rather learn from someone that's already done it and say, yeah, I can implement that. I'd rather not have to be the originator of something. When I worked at University of Miami, before I had my dog training business, I was the administrative assistant to a major gifts officer. So I had the opportunity to have the most fantastic boss at the University of Miami. And she was such a great mentor to me. And she really was my first mentor as I was deciding as a real adult in the real world, right after college, what direction I was gonna take my life in. And she never told me that I couldn't really get to know our donors. So keep in mind that our donors are multimillionaires who give like millions and millions and millions to the university. So I think from the very beginning, even before I started building Applause Your Paws, I had access to these types of people. And I never missed an opportunity to ask them about their story. Like, I wanted to know about their business. I wanted to know about them, how they got there. And I can remember having lunch regularly with a gentleman, may he rest in peace, that was a multimillionaire, who was just an ordinary man. He's not driving a fancy car, probably had like a Cadillac, but it was nothing outrageous. And I'm like, and he said, I just kept at it. I just kept at it, and I was responsible with my money, and I invested wisely, and I never lived above my means. And here I am with millions to be able to give to the university, because now I have more than I know what to do with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but to hear from people like that they, you know, I'm sure he did hustle and he probably downplayed it. But I think it was that like humility that people like that have, where it was more endurance. Like, being an entrepreneur is more a sport about endurance than it is about anything else to me.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, it's not about the person that comes in the room with the most energy. It's about the person that applies the energy day after day after day and just keeps stacking those exponential returns.
Yeah.
But I like what the guy said. I was smart and I saved it. I mean, imagine being smart with your money instead of sitting around in Starbucks with your $5 coffee and complaining that everyone else has the things you don't.
On my Facebook, you know how you can have like an image that's like, put this picture up to describe who you are. And it says, I'm too busy working on my own grass to notice if yours is greener.
Yeah.
And I kind of live by that motto too, because I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you also like, it's endurance, but you have to stay focused.
I think that early on, and maybe this was a youth thing. I was afraid of failure because I thought other people would sit around and talk about me and say, "Oh, look at Brett. He tried to hire someone and he failed." People are too busy worrying about their own lives to
Yeah.
focus on you. And I know that's related to because of fear of success and failure have some of the same sort of
Yeah.
subconscious tendencies, but at the end of the day, no one's sitting around thinking about you all day. So just do your thing and go for what you want in life. Look, Dee, this has been fun. Let's end with 3 rapid fire questions.
Sure.
And then actually first, tell us your social media handles and how people watching this can get a hold of you for the best dog training in South Florida.
Okay. Well, for the best dog training in South Florida, you definitely want to follow Applause Your Paws on Instagram. So it's just at Applause Your Paws. But if you want to see cute pictures of my kid and my VIP dogs and occasionally like nature, then you can follow Doggy Diva.
Love it. Okay. So 3 rapid fire questions here. First, what is your best piece of advice for entrepreneurs?
Stay the course. Don't let anything deter you. If you're passionate about it, stay passionate about it. Just ignore the noise and stay focused on what you're doing, and do whatever you have to do to remind yourself why you're doing what you're doing. I feel like a lot of people lose sight of the bigger picture, why we're doing what we're doing as entrepreneurs. I know what my why is at the core of me, why I get up in the morning and why my business is important to me. So I think if you can stay focused on why you're doing what you're doing, it's easier to run the course.
Exactly. Find your why and then you'll stick to it. Love it. Okay. Number 2, what is your biggest business mistake and what can we learn from it?
Well, my biggest business mistake was buying the wrong flooring for my facility when I opened it. And that was like throwing $12,000 like into a dumpster. And I guess what you can learn from that is, don't buy something just because it looks great on paper and it's shiny and it's new and you want to be like the envy of everyone else because you have that thing. It's healthy to not doubt yourself, but question yourself a little bit just to make sure you're making the right decisions, because when it comes to stuff like that, you can't afford to just throw it away. So I think in my business, it's definitely the biggest mistake.
I'm envisioning this shiny, slick new floor, and like you open the doors and all these dogs run in and they just go sliding like right
God.
into the
It was
wall.
like, been there, done that, and never again.
Yeah, look, so some of those things is just experience. Like you got to just go through it and you learn.
Well, I didn't have anyone else to benchmark my facility off of. I mean, there were no facilities in the country like mine. So I actually, in my industry, couldn't ask somebody, hey, how do these floors work out for you for your high volume dog training facility? Like that just didn't exist.
Well, you're a trailblazer though. No, I mean, you didn't just come out and say this about yourself, but I don't want to, underemphasize that you've really created something that hasn't existed before, like you said. And so that's just so admirable, D. So let me get to my third question. If not for the coronavirus lockdown, which maybe people aren't as locked down anymore, but what would you be doing?
I would be traveling at least every other weekend.
And D. Holt, applause your pause, my friend. Thank you so much for jumping on with us. Congratulations on all your success. Really, really inspiring.
Same to you, my friend. And thanks for having me. Appreciate
All
you.
right. We'll talk to you soon, D.